Hey guys. So, I had a few people request that I talk a little bit about why I chose the van that I did to do the van conversion. So, when you're choosing a van, there's a lot of things to consider. The first thing is the actual van. So, I was like probably the most popular one is the Mercedes Sprinter. That's what it's been around for the longest, I think, as well, compared to the other vans that I'll talk about. But Sprinter is a really great option. It also comes in a 4x4, which is really cool for anyone that's wanting to do any off-roading. The Sprinters are pretty expensive, especially if you're looking at diesel and off-road capabilities. There's also the Ford Transit, which is a great option as well. It's actually a really well-built vehicle, in my opinion. And there is the Nissan Envy, which I think the looks are a little funny on that, but definitely capable of a van conversion. And finally, what I chose was the Dodge Ram Promaster. And I want to talk a little bit about why I chose the vehicle that I did. So the Ram Promaster has a front wheel drive transmission. So because of that, it doesn't have a transaxle that goes from the transmission to the rear differential. So it doesn't have this big shaft that goes to the back. And because of that, it allows the floor to be about 6 inches lower than any other vehicle out there, which is really cool because the vehicle doesn't need to be as tall to still have the same headroom. And I'm 6'2", so headroom is a big deal for me. So the reason headroom is so important is, and this was coming from another friend of mine who converted his Sprinter, and he's 6'3", and he was constantly bending over just a little bit, and while he's cooking and everything, he's like, yeah, just got him. Like, got to him really quick. His neck was hurting, his back was hurting, and he just like didn't want to cook inside the van, and just was always having to worry about how he was walking around inside the van. So I wanted something that was tall enough for me. So the other thing to consider is the length of the vehicle. So there's extended wheelbase vans. You can get them that are about 17.5 feet long up to about 26 feet long. And the standard parking spot from what I've seen is around 20 feet, which is why I went with a 159-inch wheelbase. There is a 159-inch wheelbase extended version of the ProMaster, but I wanted the 159 regular because it fits in a normal parking spot. It's just right around 20 feet. The other thing is the width. This van is, I think, 6 feet 6 inches wide, and after I panel up the sides, insulate it and everything, I could actually still potentially sleep sideways in the van, being a 6'2" person, which is pretty remarkable. But also just having that extra room to, build the cabinets and just extra mobility within the van is really convenient. The other thing is the color. So I was looking at silver. There were some red ones that I found that didn't have very many miles on them that were really good deal, like closeout specials and everything. And there was a yellow one, and I'm just like, I wanted to go with white. And the reason I wanted to go with white is I wanted to look like a commercial vehicle. And the reason I'd like it to look like a commercial vehicle is because it can get parked anywhere. And if I'm sleeping on it or sleeping in it and I'm in the middle of the city and it's parked, I don't want people to think that, this looks like a camper van, or people sleeping in there. Is someone gonna knock on the door and, tell me to move in the middle of the night or write me a ticket or whatever the case is. And I don't do that often, but I still want, I don't want it to look really bright and look like a camper van. So the solar panel that I put on the top, it has a black rim around it. That's getting painted white so it'll blend in. Everything's gonna look like a commercial vehicle from the outside and like a tiny home on the inside. So I think one of the drawbacks about the ProMaster for me is the transmission. It's actually a very efficient transmission. It gets about between 22 and 23 miles per gallon with me just driving it normal without, feathering the gas all the time. But the transmission feels a little funny for an automatic transmission. And that's because it has an automatic manual transmission is what everyone refers to it as. And it actually shifts automatically, but it uses a manual clutch in the transmission. So it has a little hesitation between gears, which it takes a little getting used to. but it does help with the efficiency and it gets really great gas mileage. You also have the ability to put it in a manual mode where you tell it when to shift, which is kind of nice. So when you're going up a steep hill or you're going down a steep hill, you could tell it to, you know, stay in a certain gear, and that way it's not shifting by itself, because that gets annoying. Pretty common thing with most automatics though. Yeah, and I think the biggest drawback about the transmission on the Promaster is that because it's a front-wheel drive vehicle, it doesn't have that transaxle. There is no option for an all-wheel or four-wheel drive vehicle. Other than that, the Promaster, weighing all of these options, was really the vehicle that I wanted to work with, and I've been really happy with it so far. So, for those of you that asked, that's why I went with the Promaster. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I look forward to posting more videos.
See ya!
Peace!